Woo! This episode of the Dirt Bike Canopy is all about fit and finish. So we go from raw aluminium to a painted product, and we also have another go at the foot peg holders, which doesn't end particularly well. For those of you who are new to this series, there's a couple of build episodes on my channel. Make sure you hit the links in the description below to find out a bit more. In them, I talk about what we're trying to do, getting the slide mechanism right, as well as a huge fab episode on making the canopy. So make sure you check them out in the description below. This episode begins with some trusty old alley TIG. Here, I'm welding the jack-off leg points in, and these are the shrouds for the winch pulley cover so no water can get into the canopy. And after they're on, we can start disassembling it and getting it ready for paint. As you may recall from the last episode, the doors required weld off and bracing, which is what I'm doing here. I painted a lot of stuff at home previously, but I don't have a proper spray booth, so I outsourced the painting because I didn't really want any overspray in my garage. I've been there and done that. And just like that, it's all painted and assembled. So huge shout out to my mates Max and Miles for helping me assemble it, CPM Fabrications for all the black powder coating, and to Shannon, the resident painter of Design and Built, whether he likes it or not. I've got a mix of powder coated parts, so everything that's black and bolt on, like this bearing carrier and this carriage, is powder coated, and then these are 2-pack in the sandy to match my car. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of black and sandy color scheme, and that's what I've done throughout my entire build and all the stuff that goes on the back of my build, like the canopies. So I think it looks pretty awesome. So shout out to everyone that helped me out with this one. This probably would have been better in a powder coat. I mean, these are essentially bearing surfaces here. And what's gonna happen is they're gonna scratch up straight away, basically, but they look really, really good now. And I love the sandy. It sort of breaks up the back of the canopy. So for now, that's all good. I'm gonna show you how I get this thing off the car, and I'm also gonna show you some of the inside features that we've assembled, and then we're gonna do a final test. I've got a new idea for some peg holders, so let's go do it. Okay, we've bolted the door on, and what we need now is something to hold it up, and we've got a gas strut. So basically what I did was weigh the door, figure out the leverage ratio, and then figure out how many newtons this gas strut needed to be. So I had to go back to the old textbooks, but hopefully this will work. It is a bit of a stab in the dark, so let's bolt it up now, You'll remember that this panel wasn't quite right from last time. I did plasma cut the hole, but it was in the wrong spot because of the panel shrinkage. So I'll have to re-drill that first, and then we can get installing this, and then the door should be able to actuate really nicely. I am worried about these balls being on an angle. Let's see how they go. Literally a millimeter in that. Okay, do I need my sophisticated Oki strap anymore? Oh. Pretty good. See that? All right, we're looking at the inside of the canopy door now, and there's a bunch of internal bracing. So the idea is I'm trying to weld them to the faces where they're not going to be seen. They are ugly. With all this internal bracing, I'm going to run some wiring down there, a light in here as well, but that's going to come in a future episode. The door seals now, this is actually a really hard one. So these are seals on the door, and they're from BLR procurements like the whale tail locks. Getting the tolerances right is an absolute prick for these. That covers off the doors. Let's go see how this thing jacks off the car. No pun intended. You can buy generic canopy jack off legs, and that's what I've done. Probably the best thing to do. I tried to modify a set before to suit my canopy, and I recommend don't doing that. Just make your canopy suit the generic ones. I'd recommend 2 supports per leg, and with a triangular shape, that's pretty difficult. So this part here is gonna get me out of trouble, and we're just gonna bolt that up right now. You can see that it's a nice, sturdy structure. She's not going anywhere. Don't want to speak too soon. But yeah, plenty of gap. I can get the car out now. So it's not a permanent fixture on the car. I know a few people might have mentioned that in the comments. Basically, I use this as a ute for four-wheel driving. Then I've got a canopy, which I drop on as well. And if you haven't checked out that build series, make sure you hit the link in the description below. There's a bunch of information on actually building a relevant canopy to your vehicle in that build series. So check it out. We're gonna go test these new foot peg holders, but we gotta make them first. So let's go do that. For those of you who have been following along, you'll know that I use this off-shelf foot peg holder, which was suggested in the comments. And while it worked really well and held the bike securely, it was hard to actuate because I had to jump on the canopy to do it. Another comment that I got was to use the winch to suck the bike down with a ramp style foot peg holder, which is what I've designed up here. Let's go cut it out on the plasma table and put it to the test. Alrighty, we've got the new style of peg holder in. So let's go give it a go. Pretty cool seeing the doors as well. And just really quickly before we go test it, you may recall that I had problems with the sled overextending, so what I've done is add a hinged flap in. That stops the sled, but when I actuate the flap, it means I'm still able to get the sled off easily enough. Pretty happy with this piece of design. Okay, obviously not ideal. I needed some more adjustment in my slot. I did put slots on this time, which is great, but it just needed to come a bit further over. Let's just see how this sucks down. Woo! This has started pulling the bike back from the front wheel holder. Not ideal, so I've got a bit of a situation on my hands. I'll try and get the bike down safely. So obviously that new foot peg holder didn't go to plan. The front wheel holder unfortunately couldn't withstand the drag force that new foot peg holder induced as the bike slid up the rails. So it is a good concept. I quite like the idea, and actually this has come from the comments. So someone has mentioned that idea in the comments, so really, really appreciate it. Someone also mentioned in the comments to make sure the front wheel has additional grip, which was a really good idea, and I haven't done anything about that. So what I could do is rejig the front wheel holder a little bit so it's a bit more secure, and then as the bike goes up the slide, it will suck down, which would be awesome. And then there's got to be another locking mechanism, I reckon, which would have to go around the peg just as a double safety. Or I could go back to the original one, which is like the push down system, or maybe I could go back to some sort of ratcheting handle mechanism, which, you know, I'm not opposed to either. So I've got to have a bit of a think about that. There's actually quite a lot of work left to do on this build. So the foot peg holder is a big piece of development work. And then I've got to do the spare tire rack, which goes in the center, and then a full canopy fit out on one side, which is really exciting. That's the stuff I really look forward to designing because I get a lot of creative freedom. So that's gonna have a full kitchen and a fridge, and I've been working on it in the background. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and you like this sort of content. Really, really appreciate the support and hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you.